Welcome back, friends, to the Discovering Your Calling podcast. I am your host, Sherry Miter. And last week, or the last episode, I talked about manifesting. And, I asked the question, does it really work? And then I shared a couple of stories showing my experience with manifesting what I wanted in life. And I had some friend reach out to me and was like, well, how do I create my dream life statement that you talked about? And can you tell me how? And I realized I kind of left some of you hanging last week on how to do that.
Welcome to the Discovering Your Calling podcast. I'm your host, Sherry Miter. I'm here to help you unleash your strengths and get clarity on your calling. I believe when you find your purpose in life, fulfillment, joy, and success will follow. If you're ready, pop in those earbuds, hit that follow button, and join me on this journey toward discovering your calling.
Today, I'm going to break down the 10 steps to help you create your dream life statement. And this is the beginning of what I shared in the last episode of, what I did and the process I like to take and what I like to teach people to go through to create this story of what you want your life to look like. And that's what I call the dream life statement. And it's the beginning of being able to manifest what you want in life, to create that law of attraction, all the things that, again, as I shared last week, is kind of woo-woo. And, I don't understand it. And as I shared last week, I also don't understand how electricity works. I don't understand how the TV pixels work. I don't understand how my cell phone works. But I just trust that they work. And it's the same thing with manifesting and the law of attraction and all those things. So in order to make that happen, you have to start putting things in your mind and in your head of what you want to happen. And one of the simplest ways I can explain of how you can see that it actually does work is if you've ever bought a car and maybe you selected a really cool, unique color that you've never really noticed before. It's like this cherry red with a little sparkle to it. And it's a newer brand of a car that you hadn't seen very often on the highway. And you go pick up this car and you're so excited about it because you want to stand out on the highway. You want to stand out in your town. And you're driving the car home. And what do you see on the highway? You see other cars with the exact same color, with the exact same model, the exact same color and model together. Like you happen to start seeing everybody else seems to have the same car now. Now, did everybody go buy the car on the same day you did? Probably not. What is happening is there is a part of our brain. And once our brain gets fed information to become aware of something, it starts scanning our environment to find evidence of that thing. And that's what's happened with this car, as your brain now knows about this cherry red car color. So now it's scanning your world to find other cars that are the same. And that's how it kind of works in my Sherry Miter unscientific way of saying it is when you could create this dream life statement. It starts putting the ideas in your subconscious brain so that it will go to work to help scan the world, scan your universe, scan your community to find evidence of creating what you put on your dream life statement to happen in real life. And again, I am not a master in this. I just understand that it does work. Just like I understand when I flip my light switch on, the lights will come on. So how do you create this dream life statement? That's what we're going to talk about today. And I broke it down into these 10 steps. And I'm going to take you through the 10 steps. Now, before we jump into this, I do want you to know, thanks to my friend Margot, who's like, Sherry, I need this. How do I do this? I did create a template for you, or not a template, but a handout for you, a PDF for you with these 10 steps. So if you are a visual learner and you'd like to see it in print like I do, you can send me an email and say, Sherry, I need that dream life statement PDF. Can you send it to me? So just send me an email, sherry@sherrymiterco.com, and just ask for the dream life statement PDF. It is basic. It's simple. and I'd be happy to pop that over to you. So how do you create this? All right. Step number 1 is as you start to think about this, you want to get in a space where you can allow yourself to dream again and get in a space where you know no one is judging you, no one's critiquing you, no one's going to question the thoughts and the dreams that you have. And your only job is to start thinking about this one statement, this one question. I love this question. If you knew you couldn't fail and everything would align the way you want it to, what would you love to see happen in your life? I'll repeat that. If you knew you couldn't fail and everything would align the way you want it to, what would you love to see happen in your life? Jot it down. Write it down. Take some notes on it. Put it in your journal. But allow yourself to really think on that question. And when I say get in a space where you can allow yourself to dream, get in an environment where you can really just be in this space for an hour, I would recommend. Maybe it's a half hour. Maybe you have to hide in your car in a park. Maybe you have the privilege of being able to go sit on the beach. Maybe it's in the woods where you do your best thinking. Maybe it's in your office. Light a candle, put on I was just talking to somebody, classical music helps you think. Where's that environment that will just allow you to have that freedom and space to dream and think about this? So again, get in a space where you can allow yourself to dream and answer the question, if you knew you couldn't fail and everything would align the way you want it to, what would you love to see happen in your life? That's step number 1. Step number 2, which they all fall right in line with this, is as you're doing this, spend a few minutes. You want to think ahead. So step number 2 is think ahead. Spend a few minutes thinking about where you want to be 6 months from now, 1 year from now, 5 years, 10 years from now. Start thinking about where would you want to live? What would you love to be doing for a career? What would your income look like? What about your family life, your relationships, your friends? Where would you be traveling? Would you be traveling? Just start thinking about all these things. You're not really you don't do anything with it yet. We will in a minute, but just start dreaming and thinking about it. That's really what step 1 and step 2 are all about, is just opening up your brain to get in the space of being able to dream about your future. And I know from experience working with my clients, I understand that if you're not high futuristic like I am, this step may be really hard for you to do. And have patience with yourself. And that's okay because, the older we get, sometimes the more we've been told not to dream and not to allow ourselves, because maybe we've not had our dreams fulfilled. Maybe we used to dream a lot and we had our heart broken and those dreams were crushed. And it's hard to dream again because we don't want the dreams to get crushed again. And I want to give you permission, my friend, to be okay with that and just do what you can. There's no right or wrong here. It's just kind of opening up that door again, peeking out the window again to say, okay, maybe it's safe now. This is your safe space to just start thinking about the future that you would love to have. So step number 3, and this is going to really help you, is overcome the second voices. So step number 3, overcome the second voices. And here's the thing we have to be very cautious of as we start doing these exercises is you are going to have a second voice pop in your head. So we're not going crazy hearing these second voices or these voices in our head. And I always say the first voice is the voice of, you can do this. That sounds amazing. Oh my gosh, that's what could be the ideal life for us. And then there's this second voice. And a little secret here, I haven't told many people because this is my scary dream, but I'm actually writing a book. I'm writing a book on discovering your calling. And it's going through all the process I take my clients through, the 8 different elements of really discovering your true calling. And we talk about this a lot of overcoming the second voices. And I'm naming these voices in the book. And Ruth is the voice that's the cheerleader, the one that is loyal to you, the one that knows you can do it. And we're calling Fred the second voice, or the second voice we're calling Fred. I apologize for any Freds out there. Didn't mean it in a negative way. It's just Fred is our second voice, or you can call them whatever you want. You can name yours. So that second voice, or Fred, is going to be the one that pops in and starts saying things to you like, you're crazy. that will never happen. Girl, who do you think you are? It's that second voice like, well, you don't have what you need to do that. You don't have the expertise to do that. That would never work. Well, that's crazy. You're going to walk away from this secure job where you have benefits and a retirement plan? That's ludicrous. So it's that second voice that's going to be that voice of telling you all the reasons why it's not a good idea, all the reasons why you're not qualified, all the reasons why this isn't going to work. And this is where so many people get stuck because they listen to Fred instead of Ruth. Don't listen to Fred. Fred is a big, fat liar. Fred will keep you stuck in status quo your entire life. So we've got to learn to quiet the second voice. We can't get rid of him. He's always going to be there. No matter what level you're at in your career, in your life, what you've achieved, the second voice is always going to creep in. We just have to learn over time to just quiet that second voice. Now, if you need help with this, I actually did record another podcast a while back called Overcoming the Top 3 Obstacles to Living Your Dream Life in Record Time. And I go in depth about how to overcome listening to that second voice. And I'll put that in the show notes. And that is also a link on the handout if you request the handout from me. So step number 3 was just overcome the second voice or quiet the second voice. Step number 4, now we get ready to write. So now we should be in that place, that space where we are dreaming again. We've quieted the second voice. Now we can write things down. Because once you're clear about where you want to be and you're not listening to Fred anymore, now's the time to grab your journal, grab a pad of paper, your favorite pen. I love to light a candle, pour a cup of nice herbal tea, maybe have, again, that classical music or some music that allows you to just think and get in that space to just write. So get ready to write. That's step number 4. That's an easy one. You're just getting ready to write. Step number 5. Now you're going to write in detail about your dream life. So this is where we take all those things from step 2, where I wanted you to start thinking ahead. And that question from number 1 about if you couldn't fail, what would your life look like? You're going to start taking that and jotting it down. Now, again, the same friend said, well, I don't like to journal. That stresses me out. So if you don't like to journal, you're just taking notes on this. You're just jotting things down. If you are a list taker, put it in a list form. If you like to journal, then journal. It doesn't matter, but get it down on paper somehow, some way, out of your head and onto paper. And you're just going to start to really create your life story. So you're going to take all those things that you've been thinking about and jot it down. But now you're going to get down to the nitty gritty. You're going to really, the more detailed you can get on your dream life statement, the better the chances are that it will come true. Because again, it's about getting your subconscious brain, that activating center. I really should have looked that up before I got on this podcast. And some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're like, oh, Jerry, it's this, blah, blah, blah. It's 3 words. But you are going to, utilize your brain and let it do its job. So the more details you can feed it, the more it's going to search for those things out in your world. And again, it sounds so woo-woo, and it is, but just trust that it works. So I want you to think about things like not just where you will live, but what does your house look like? What's the neighborhood like? What's the city you live in like? Can you walk to the local coffee shop? Where are you shopping at? Is there a produce stand that you love to go pick up your fresh organic vegetables every Saturday morning? Is that part of your routine? Or are you out in the country and maybe you're growing your own vegetables? Is your neighborhood active and you have neighborhood parties all the time? Or are you like living in this quiet area where nobody bothers you? What does it look like for you? Then what are you doing for work? Again, the more detailed you can get, the better. And maybe you can't picture what the job title is. And here's something I don't want you to get hung up on. Sometimes we don't know exactly what the job is, but what are the things you're doing? Maybe all you can see right now, if you are one of, my listeners that's looking for their calling, You may not know exactly what that would look like, but think about like, what are the things that you would love to be doing? Like, can you see yourself working on it with a team? And you love to do brainstorming with a team every Monday. You can just see yourself doing that. Or do you see yourself being able to work solo on your laptop, maybe, sitting in your RV as you travel the world, or sitting on your boat and working from your boat, or maybe you're sitting on the beach, or maybe you have a beautiful home office that you love to work out of, or maybe you go to an office, you have a corner office with a beautiful view of the city. Like, what lights you up? Again, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would those things look like? And you may not know, again, what exactly the job title is. We're not worried about that. What's the feeling you have when you get to work? What are the things you get to help people with? Are you helping people? Are you totally working for yourself? So just start to dream about that. You're going to think about, what are you doing for fun? Jot that down. What would you love to have time to do for fun? Think about what your morning routine is going to look like. Do you jump out of bed and head to the gym and get a good workout in and then come back and make your smoothie and have coffee? Or are you more like I am? I'm an early riser, but my brain engages before my body. So I gave up trying to work out first thing in the morning. It doesn't work for me. I think first thing in the morning. I use that time to use my brain. Love my quiet prayer time. Love my cup of coffee is essential first thing in the morning. I like quiet space. I do my best writing in the morning. So what is it you're doing in the morning? What's your morning routine look like? And what do your relationships look like? Do you have date night with your husband or your spouse once a week? Do you go out with your friends? Do you vacation with your friends? How's your health and well-being? What are you achieving? How are your finances? What about your faith, your community, or anything else that's important to you? Jot it all down. And again, I have all these questions I just mentioned to you on this PDF. If you want it, just email me and I'll send it to you. But this is your dream life statement. That's it. And you're going to write it. Take the things you write down and try to write it as if it's a story about yourself. Now, there are a couple other things you want to include, and that's where we get on to step 6. So as you're writing this out, I want you to also write it in a present tense. So write it as if it's happened today. So instead of saying, I will wake up at, well rested at 6:30 in the morning, you're going to write, I easily wake up each morning well rested at 6:30 and enjoy my favorite cup of coffee on our back deck overlooking the woods. My first hour of my day is spent peacefully journaling, praying, and planning my day. I am not rushed. When I'm ready, I go for a walk, I head into my office, or maybe I head to the beach. So it's as if it's already happening to your life. That is so important. Write it in the present tense. No, I wish, I want, I think about. It is happening right now. So write as if it's happening right now, today. That's so, so important. So that was step number 6. Write it in present tense. Step number 7 is test it. Just test it. Read your dream life statement. And as you read it to yourself, does it move your soul? Does it put a smile on your face? Does it make you want to get up and do something about it to achieve what you just wrote? And if you can say yes to that, then you are totally on the right track. If not, you need to go back and add more emotion and description to what you just wrote. When you read this, it needs to evoke emotion. It needs to put a smile on your face, and it needs to make you want to get up and do something about it. So test it out. See if it's validated. Do you need to redo? Do you need to add some things? Sometimes it takes a couple of times, especially when you're new to this. I find most people don't get as detailed enough until they've done this a few times. Step number 8, make it a habit. This is another vital part. This is the part that takes that dream life statement from just being a cool story you just wrote about your future to how do you make it a reality? Every morning, you're going to read your dream life statement to yourself. Spend a few moments of visualizing what it will look like when you do step into this life. Some people even like to create a vision board that goes along with it. For an extra boost, you can read it at night before you go to bed. And I've even heard, I have not tested this theory, but I have heard if you read it out loud, it even cements it even more so. But this is how the subconscious mind will start to do its magic. And that law of attraction goes to work. And again, you don't need to know how it all works. Just trust that it does. Okay, step number 9, let God's plan unfold. And this is probably one of the hardest parts about that, is that we just have to trust in, I say God, fill in the blank here, that He has, if He put a dream in your heart, He will arrange for that dream to come true. Now, it may not look the way we thought it would, and it may not be in our time. It rarely is, but He's the orchestrator of it all. And if you listen to the last episode on manifesting, you will hear how a lot of things I wrote, one, haven't come true, or they're still in the works, or they morphed a little bit. But He's got the plan. So you just got to trust that there is a plan and there's a place. And again, I truly believe when God puts these dreams on our hearts, He's not going to leave you hanging. He doesn't. All right. He may tweak some things. He may help you see that, that's not really the best direction for you. Let's change it a little. But He's got a plan there for you. And step number 10, this is a fun one. Be ready for the surprises, the miracles, and more. And just get ready to see how the wild and crazy coincidences that start to happen, the shifts that will be made in your world, the things that will start to align with some of your dreams come true. Maybe it's just that at the right time, somebody tells you to read a certain book. Maybe at the right time, you listen to a podcast that's helpful. Maybe at the right time, you find the right coach to help you. Maybe at the right time, a new job opportunity or, a house comes for sale. You just never know. But I truly believe it's not really coincidences. It's all part of the alignment of how dreams come together. And here's a little extra thing that's not on the PDF. What's really cool is when you start to see how your dream and that coming true helps somebody else's dream comes true. That helps somebody else's dream come true. There's like this ripple effect that starts to happen. And we usually don't know that's happening until we go back and look at the pieces, the things that have happened in the past. We can go back and put, it's like, oh my gosh, look at how these all kind of fell apart, fell together, not fell apart, fell together. And your dream was tied to my dream, which was tied to their dream. It's just such a cool thing. So just remember that it's a process. And the first time you do this, it might feel hard, might not come easy. Things will be done in God's time, not our time. Just let things start to unfold. We can't force things to happen that are on our dream life statement. Believe me, I have tried. It never works that well. Never works that well. Our job is just to create the dream life statement, read it daily, if not twice daily, and just see what happens. Wait for those crazy things to happen in your life that happened with us. And again, go back and listen to last week's episode if you missed it, especially the last one about us finding this apartment. Super crazy story there. So I hope this helps. Again, grab the PDF. Eventually, it'll probably be on my website, but for now, it's just a basic Google Doc. So send me an email and I'd be happy to send it over to you. So Sherry@sherrymiterco.com. And Sherry's just SRI. Or find me on Facebook. You can hit me in the DMs on Facebook. Happy to send this to you. And one last thing, my friend, if by chance, finding a new career and discovering your calling is on your dream life statement, I would love to talk to you about the Discovering Your Calling Academy and see whether or not that is a good next best step for you. This is my signature program where I take people through 90 days, an intense 8 elements, where we go through not just visioneering, but we talk about your Clifton strengths. We talk about your skills. We talk about your dreams. We talk about your mission. We talk about your impact, and we create a plan of action to make it all come true. So if you're curious to learn more about that, book a clarity call the link is in the show notes, and we can talk more about that. All right, my friends, thanks as always for listening to the Discovering Your Calling podcast. I can't wait to hear how it goes with you writing your dream life statement. And even more so, I really, really, really want to hear, how has manifesting showed up in your life? What crazy stories do you have to share as you see the coincidences, in air quotes there, start to happen that were on your dream life statement? Make sure you share those with me. All right, we'll see you back here next week.
Thank you for spending this time with me. My hope is something you heard today inspires you to take action toward discovering your calling. I just have 2 favors to ask of you before you go. 1, if you found value and enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and you might hear your review read on a future episode. And 2, can you share this episode with 3 friends who will also enjoy it as much as you did? By doing these things, you will help us grow the podcast to make a bigger impact on the world. And until next week, remember, you've been created to live a life of fulfillment, freedom, purpose, success, and joy.